Was the fourth Vegas night leaked on purpose? Inside the Jungkook fanbase, rumor that shook BTS's army before Wever spoke, was it really just a coincidence? Or did the truth slip out exactly where it was meant to appear first? Before Big Hit Music's official Weverse notification lit up millions of phones around the world, before entertainment media rushed to rewrite headlines, before Ticketmaster queues stretched into digital eternity, one whisper had already escaped into the wild. It did not come from a press release. It did not come from an industry insider speaking anonymously to Western media. According to fans, it came from inside Jungkook's own fanbase spaces, quietly, confidently, and days earlier than anyone was supposed to know. That single detail is now at the center of one of the most emotionally charged debates in the BTS fandom since enlistment announcements first fractured timelines years ago. When Big Hit finally confirmed that BTS would add a surprise fourth Las Vegas concert date at Allegiant Stadium on May 28, 2026, officially turning the city into a four-night stronghold for the Arirang World Tour, celebration erupted instantly. But underneath the cheers, the tears, and the ticket-buying panic, a sharper question refused to disappear. How did Jungkook-focused fan communities seem to know first? And why did the leak feel so specific it bordered on prophetic? This is not just a story about an extra concert date. This is a story about power, perception, fandom hierarchy, and the invisible currents that now shape global pop empires. It is about how information moves before it is supposed to, how trust fractures in hyper-connected communities, and how one name, Jungkook, continues to sit at the center of conversations that go far beyond vocals or choreography. And perhaps most provocatively, it is about whether modern K-pop promotions are truly neutral anymore, or whether priority exists even when no one admits it does. The moment Big Hit Music's Weverse notice confirmed the May 28th Las Vegas show, the facts were undeniable. Allegiant Stadium, one of the largest concert venues in the United States with a capacity exceeding 65,000, would now host BTS on May 23rd, May 24th, May 27th, and May 28th. 4 nights, potentially more than 250,000 fans in one city alone. For a group returning to full group touring after completing mandatory military service and releasing their comeback album Arirang on March 20th, 2026, the symbolism was immense. Las Vegas was no longer just a tour stop. It was a statement. Industry analysts immediately framed the expansion as proof of overwhelming demand. Previous U.S. stops, including Tampa and Stanford, had already sold out with alarming speed, forcing additional dates that seemed reactive rather than pre-planned. The Arirang World Tour, even before its first note rang out live, was being whispered about in billion-dollar terms. Non-Western act, stadium-only routing, multi-year global run stretching through 2027. This was history in motion, and Las Vegas had become its brightest flashpoint. Yet while headlines screamed about numbers, scale, and revenue, Army timelines were busy dissecting something else entirely. Screenshots began circulating, allegedly taken from Jungkook-centric fanbase chats and private community posts, referencing an additional Vegas date before Weverse ever went live. The wording, fans claimed, was not vague speculation. It included the city, the number of total dates, and even hints toward May 28th specifically. To some, it felt impossible to dismiss as lucky guessing. Was this simply a case of hyper-engaged fans reading the market correctly? Or had information flowed downward through unofficial channels tied, intentionally or not, to Jungkook's unparalleled solo reach? Suspicion escalated fast. Longtime ARMY, who pride themselves on OT7 unity, began asking uncomfortable questions. Why did this rumor not surface evenly across all member-focused communities? Why Jungkook's? Why Vegas, and why that date? In an ecosystem where every move by BTS is scrutinized to the decimal, coincidence suddenly felt like an insufficient explanation. The phrase "invisible priority" began trending quietly, then loudly. Fans were careful with their words, aware of how quickly internal criticism can be weaponized against the fandom by outsiders. But emotions spilled anyway. Some argued that Jungkook's post-military solo dominance in the West, marked by Billboard chart smashes and a visibly expanded North American fanbase, had reshaped how tour demand is measured internally. If ticket data, streaming analytics, and regional engagement all pointed to Jungkook as the primary demand driver in cities like Las Vegas, was it unrealistic to think that his fanbase might be closer to the information pipeline? Others pushed back fiercely. They reminded everyone that big hit music has always emphasized group-first strategy, that all 7 members share in BTS's achievements, and that leaks happen everywhere in large-scale tours. Stadium staff, ticketing partners, venue calendars, and local promoters all represent potential points of failure. To frame this as a Jungkook-centric advantage, they argued, was not only unfair but dangerous to group cohesion. Still, the timing gnawed at people. This was not the first time Jungkook's name had been attached to discussions of scale and demand. In recent months, Western media narratives had increasingly spotlighted his solo achievements as shorthand for BTS's global pull. Talk show hosts joked that Jungkook alone could sell out Vegas. Industry columns openly speculated whether his presence was disproportionately influencing North American routing decisions. None of this existed in a vacuum. So when a leak appeared where his fans live and organize most intensely, the story almost wrote itself. Ticketing chaos followed the official announcement. The emotional stakes only rose. Pre-sale windows triggered frantic strategy sharing. Membership hacks circulated. Complaints about Ticketmaster favoritism exploded, with accusations that VIP packages and secondary market listings were being prioritized over fair access. For some fans, the early leak felt like salt in the wound. If information truly had been unevenly distributed, even unintentionally, then fairness itself felt compromised. At the center of it all stood Jungkook, silent as ever, his image projected onto a controversy he did not publicly address. That silence, as always, became its own Rorschach test. To supporters, it underscored his professionalism and focus on performance. To skeptics, it symbolized the uncomfortable truth that his influence has grown too large to ignore, even within BTS's carefully balanced universe. The debate soon expanded beyond the leak itself. Was Jungkook's solo popularity the reason Las Vegas demanded 4 nights while other cities settled for fewer? Were internal tour models now weighted by individual member metrics, even subconsciously? Could this be the beginning of a new era where BTS's collective strategy subtly bends around the gravitational pull of its most globally dominant star? Even lighter fan rivalries found new fuel. On X, formerly Twitter, playful but pointed debates flared comparing Jungkook's chart dominance with RM's artistic leadership. Who really drove Vegas? The numbers guy or the visionary leader? What began as jokes quickly revealed deeper anxieties about recognition and balance within a group that has spent a decade insisting on unity above all else. And yet, stepping back from the noise, another possibility emerges, quieter but no less compelling. What if the leak, assuming it was real, was not favoritism at all, but strategy? In modern fandom economics, fan bases are not just audiences. They are amplifiers, stress testers, and real-time feedback loops. Allowing information to surface organically in highly active communities can measure reaction without official commitment. It can build anticipation while maintaining plausible deniability. It can, quite simply, make the announcement hit harder when it finally arrives. But if that is the case, then the Jungkook fanbase was not privileged but utilized, selected not because of bias but because of reach. Jungkook's communities are among the fastest-moving, most internationally connected networks in K-pop. A whisper there travels globally in minutes. From a purely tactical perspective, it makes sense. From an emotional standpoint, it is explosive. Big hit music, for its part, has made no comment on the leak accusations. Officially, the narrative remains straightforward. Demand was overwhelming. The Arirang World Tour required expansion. Las Vegas earned a 4th night. Pre-sales and general sales were announced in line with other US dates. Anything beyond that, the company seems to suggest through silence, is fan interpretation, but fans know interpretation is power. In an era where BTS's business decisions are parsed like geopolitical strategy, nothing feels accidental anymore. The Arirang World Tour is not just a series of concerts. It is a test of how global fandoms function after years of change, separation, and solo growth. It is a mirror reflecting new hierarchies that may exist whether anyone wants to name them or not. So the question lingers, unresolved and emotionally charged. Did the fourth Vegas date leak first in Jungkook's fanbase by chance, by structural inevitability, or by design? Was this the harmless byproduct of massive scale, or the clearest sign, yet that BTS's internal gravity has shifted in ways fans are only beginning to articulate? As BTS prepares to take the stage in Las Vegas across 4 nights that could redefine live performance economics for non-Western acts, one thing is certain: the music will be thunderous. The crowds will be historic. And long after the final encore fades into the Nevada night, ARMY will still be asking the same question they asked before Weverse ever spoke. Who really knew first? And what does that mean for the future of BTS? The question refuses to die because it taps into something deeper than schedules and stadium capacities. It cuts straight into the emotional architecture of ARMY itself, a fandom that has long defined its identity around equality, transparency, and the idea that BTS moves as 7, not as fragments orbiting one dominant center. When information appears to travel unevenly, even for reasons that may be logistical rather than ideological, it feels personal. It feels like a crack in a promise many fans have carried for years. In the hours after the Weverse announcement, timelines split into 2 emotional lanes. One was pure exhilaration. Videos of fans screaming, crying, calling friends at midnight flooded social media. Las Vegas, already a symbol of excess and spectacle, was now about to host 4 nights of BTS at full power, post-military, with a comeback album explicitly designed to reconnect Korean identity with global ambition. The other lane, quieter but sharper, was filled with screenshots, timestamps, and questions. Fans began reconstructing the leak like investigators at a crime scene, comparing post times, deleted messages, and phrasing patterns across platforms. Some noticed that the earliest mentions inside Jungkook-oriented spaces used unusually confident language. Not maybe or rumored, but statements framed as near certainties. Others pointed out that similar confidence did not appear simultaneously in fan bases centered on other members. That asymmetry, more than the leak itself, is what ignited suspicion. In a fandom trained to detect microsignals, asymmetry equals meaning. At the same time, veteran ARMY reminded everyone of an uncomfortable truth. Jungkook's fanbase is not just large, it is structurally different. It has a higher concentration of Western fans, especially in North America, where Las Vegas sits as a strategic touring hub. It also includes a significant number of fans who engage directly with industry-adjacent spaces, from chart analysis circles to venue speculation accounts. In other words, even without official favoritism, Jungkook's communities are statistically more likely to intercept signals first. This explanation, rational as it may be, did little to calm emotions, because logic does not always soothe when feelings are involved. For many fans, especially those deeply invested in the idea of equal visibility, the leak felt symbolic. It echoed past moments when Jungkook's name dominated headlines even during group achievements, moments when Western media reduced BTS to a single face for convenience. The Vegas leak reopened those old wounds, reminding fans how fragile balance can feel when global attention narrows its focus. Western entertainment media, sensing blood in the water, began framing the story in subtly provocative ways. Articles highlighted Jungkook's solo energy as a potential driver of Vegas demand, often without malicious intent, but with a clear understanding of what generates clicks. Analysts speculated openly about whether his post-military popularity surge had reshaped North American ticket forecasts. Each mention poured gasoline onto fandom debates already burning hot. And then there is the business reality that fans both acknowledge and resist. Tours of this scale are not planned emotionally, they are modeled. Algorithms track streaming density by region, social engagement velocity, merchandise sales, and historical ticket conversion rates. If those numbers spike disproportionately around Jungkook-related content in certain markets, internal projections will reflect that, regardless of official messaging. The machine does not care about fairness. It cares about demand. This is where the idea of strategy becomes impossible to ignore. In contemporary pop marketing, leaks are not always failures. Sometimes they are probes. A controlled rumor can test appetite, measure buzz, and prepare infrastructure without the risk of formal commitment. When fans respond explosively, as they did here, it validates the decision before